The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
Hello everyone, welcome to Ask the Treksperts. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Brandon.
Brandon, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
We've had Brandon on Geeks Not Nerds before, and now we've got him on Ask the Treksperts because Brandon is one of our Treksperts. That's right. Would you call yourself an expert in Star Trek, Brandon?
Pretty much.
Yeah, he knows his stuff, and Brandon's one of our big Star Trek Club guys. He comes nearly every week, and glad to have you on the show. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
That's his creds. He comes to Star Trek Club.
I got some Trek cred.
Today's question comes from one of our regular viewers, Darth Maul the Lego. We'll excuse the Darth. Darth Maul the Lego says, asks us, are there any TNG movies you'd recommend? That's the question for today, so we're going to answer his question. What we're going to do is we're going to go through each of the 4 TNG movies and give our opinions about which ones are worth bothering with, which ones aren't, and which ones might be on the fence. Okay, here we go. The first film was Generations. Came out in 1994 and was just after Next Generation ended. Brandon?
Really? 1994?
1994, yes sir.
Generations is my favorite TNG film. I think it embodies a lot of what, especially what TNG was about, and it has a lot of things that just bring it together for me, really, and the whole past versus the present, and I really don't know exactly how to describe it, but I just love it.
It was supposed to be the film that bridged the gap between TNG and TOS, and for a lot of people, it didn't manage that because Kirk's not in it enough, and that was a big problem for people.
Please, Kirk, not in it.
It's got a lot of pacing issues, and it's not the best of the TNG films, but it's close. I do like it a lot better than most Trekkies do, and the Nexus thing is pretty silly, but I liked that Guinan played a big part. I thought Whoopi was really great in it.
I liked the Nexus. Yeah, definitely.
And some people don't like the Data thing either, but I guess we'll get to that. Go ahead, Sarah.
Well, yeah, I don't like the Data thing at all, but I would say that Generations is a very fun TNG film to watch. It's probably my favorite of the 4 of them to just put in the DVD player and watch.
Now, would you say that a person, because Darth Maul the Lego, the reason he asked this question was that he was saying he saw the new Star Trek movie and really liked it, and has only seen maybe a handful of TNG episodes and doesn't really know Trek very well, and so that's why he was asking, which TNG movies are worth watching, and it's a really good question for a new Trekkie, and I can see why a lot of new people who don't know Star Trek are going to the movies, and so the question I give you with Generations then is, can you watch it without knowing anything that came before? I think it's kind of a weird pick to start with.
I think it's a hard... Yeah, it is weird to start with.
As far as Trek movies go,
I sort of think you ought to watch some of the TOS films before you even see that one. I'd say see Wrath of Khan. I'd say see at least Wrath of Khan and Undiscovered Country before you see Generations. Yeah.
I would have to agree. But even then, you've got such an arc going on between Wrath of Khan and the next movie.
That's true, but you can get, I mean, as long as you like wiki it real fast, you can get through without having seen it.
True.
But anyway, let's keep on the TNG movies.
I think it also may be kind of weird to watch Generations without having watched any TNG.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. And that brings us to First Contact. Let me just mention that First Contact, I would say, is the one out of the 4 of them that is probably the easiest to jump into without knowing anything. Because in a lot of ways, it is made for people who don't really know what they're watching, but still is really good at keeping continuity. So it's good for Trekkies, but it's good for non-Trekkies. And the other films that tried that didn't manage it nearly as well as First Contact did. Go ahead, Brandon.
Okay. I liked First Contact all right. Not my favorite. As I mentioned, Generations was my favorite of the 4 TNG films. But there's this one particular scene in First Contact where the chief engineer of the Enterprise is down talking to the inventor of warp technology, and he's built this thing to install on the original warp-capable ship, and it's made out of copper tubing, and this thing looks flimsier than anything ever, and he goes something like, "Look what I did, I made it for you," or something like this, and it just cracks me up every time, and it's the biggest remembrance remembrance I have from that movie.
For the record, though, it wasn't Jordy, it was Barkley, which is why it was funny.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I understand, because, Barkley would be, silly
Yeah.
enough to do that. I got this
Yeah.
cover too, check it out. And then, of course, Cochran's like, yeah, that looks fine. I'm like, that's never going to
It
work.
wouldn't have worked for a warp ship.
First Contact, of course, is the film that brought us, the Borg in the films, which, if you're going to do an action movie in Star Trek, use the Borg. That's great, and that's why a lot of people like it. I mean, the Borg Queen doesn't work great for the whole canon of Star Trek, but it's really cool in that film. So I would say that as far as a single film goes, you've got a lot of people who are suddenly action stars, who really weren't action stars in TNG, but given just the context of First Contact, it works really well. It's a really good movie. It's also a really good Star Trek movie, but it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
It is the best of the TNG films, I think.
And out of all four, I would say that would be the one to definitely watch if you don't know Star Trek.
Sure, I would agree with that.
I agree. I'm not a big fan of the movies overall. Star Trek was not meant to be on film.
That's debatable, but that may be another show.
That's my opinion. But it's more of an action film than I like for Star Trek, but it has really good points to it. And I love the Borg as a villain race, and there's some really good scenes that happen.
And Data's handled better there than he's handled anywhere.
Much. Yeah.
He got the emotion chip in Generations, and then by First Contact he figured out how to use it. They've got that awesome scene where he turns it off, and I just love that.
Yeah. His character just makes so much more sense in that film. Yeah.
And then of course, Picard's got his most famous speech ever in that film. So anyway, okay, Insurrection.
Insurrection, I remember the least out of any of them.
There's a good reason for that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's the race on the planet that they're trying to remove without them knowing about it. Is that's the one where Data walks into the lake and he's walking at the bottom of the lake?
And he mentions that he doubles as a flotation device?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. Flotation.
Insurrection is the dullest of all the Star Trek movies, if you're me. And I mean,
agree.
there's debate about this. Some people really like it actually, and it's not terrible. It's just not great as a movie. It feels like a two-part TNG episode. And
exactly.
Frankly, it feels like a TNG episode. And it's a premise that's already been done and was done better. That's really all I have to say about Insurrection. It's maybe worth watching if you really know your Star Trek, but definitely don't go into it not knowing any Trek.
Well, it's certainly not an action film.
Yeah.
If you just want to relax, throw something in, have something on screen, I find it enjoyable. I mean, it doesn't have a very thick plot. The plot that it has is kind of on tenuous footing anyway.
And also keep in mind that the person who asked us this question said, "I saw the new Star Trek movie and loved it. What should I watch?" Not Insurrection.
No, not Insurrection. And I would not recommend that anyone start with Insurrection.
Because the new movie was an action film. Don't start with. And I'm not saying the best Star Trek movies are action films. Okay, you didn't ask us about the TOS movie. You asked us about the TNG movie. Two of which are big action movies. One of which wishes it were an action movie.
Yeah.
That's Insurrection. Okay, Nemesis.
Nemesis sucks.
Nemesis. General consensus.
You may watch it and enjoy it. I'm not saying I'm not saying you won't necessarily like
but
it.
the villain has no motive. Even if you're not a Trekkie,
But even as a movie, it's got issues. Yeah, I know.
It does have issues. I will go as far as to say that as a movie, I think it's all right as a movie, but as Trek, no.
And especially as the Last Next Generation movie.
As the Last Generation movie.
If you're us and you have any stake in Star Trek, it's awful.
Yeah.
It screws up continuity all over the place.
So, yeah, but it was just a terrible end to the Next Generation.
If you said two, what would be the other?
Well, I'd say Generations.
Generations.
Would be the other,
yeah.
but
well, I would start with
Not
Generations.
in that order.
no.
I would start with Generations personally.
Yeah, and I would say if you're gonna do Generations, if you do want to do that, go the long haul and go back and watch some of the good original series movies. And those, if you're us, would be 2.
Yeah, 2 and
4, and I would put 6 there also. But some people like Sarah aren't big fans of Undiscovered Country.
It works. It's not bad.
It's a good setup for Generations, though.
Don't watch 5.
No.
Whatever you do, don't watch 5. Okay, well, thanks a lot for watching Ask the Treksperts. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Brandon.
And we'll see you next time. And we'd love to answer your questions. Thanks a lot for watching.
The best is yet to come.
The